everybody, and welcome to the second episode of Book Time with Elvis. I hope you're all keeping well and keeping safe and healthy, of course. Now, I was thinking today about family. I mean, family must be one of the undeniably uh, obsessive topics for a lot of people these days. They're probably, some people are probably fed up of having to be locked down with their family. Other people, of course, are really missing their families. Personally, I unfortunately haven't been able to see my parents since July 2019. So, as you can imagine, I'm really hoping that things are going to improve so I'll be able to see them come the summer. And of course, as people have a lot of time on their hands and they're thinking about subjects like family, perhaps a few people have turned to genealogy in order to trace their family roots and research their family tree and see how far back they can go. Actually, this was something I tried a few years ago, and I was quite amazed at how far back I could go just by using the internet. I think I got back to the last decade or two of the 18th century in one of my family lines. And it was certainly a very interesting endeavour. However, most people don't get to go very far back at all. I mean, obviously, when you watch programs like Who Do You Think You Are, they have expert researchers that help them go back, and they can go back quite some ways. But imagine if the history of your family was also the microcosm, if you like, of the history of a nation. Imagine if you could trace your family history back almost a millennium or so. And that's actually what the author of the book I'd like to talk about today did. It's a fantastic book called Ancestors by Frank Ching. I actually picked this book up in Hong Kong airport, must be almost 10 years ago. And I read most of it on the flight back to London. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I certainly get into these fads, and I get short-term obsessions about things, especially when I go somewhere, visit somewhere, live somewhere. For example, I lived in Japan for a few years, became obsessed with Japanese history, Japanese culture, also lived in Hong Kong for a while. The same thing happened. And it was 10 years or so ago that I went to China on holiday. And of course, that trip gave me the same feeling of obsession with Chinese history and Chinese culture. And for that trip, I transferred through Hong Kong. And luckily, I found this in Hong Kong airport. And I'm really glad I did, because it's a fantastic book. In fact, actually, I've still got the price tag on there in Hong Kong dollars, if you can see it there. Not that it makes much difference, but I just thought it adds to the story. So, as it says on the cover here, Ancestors is the story of China told through the lives of an extraordinary family. Now, the author's name is Frank Ching, but his clan, or the family he belongs to, is the Qin family, which is spelt in our alphabet with Q-I-N. And in this book, as I say, he traces almost 1,000 years of his family history. He goes from the poet and civil servant Qin Guan of the Song dynasty. He goes through to Qin Hui, the traitor, who was someone who actively encouraged collaboration with the urchins, who were a tribe that invaded Song dynasty China from the north. Also follows the story of Qin Zhu, who was a prominent poet and well-known intellectual of the 16th century. And it goes through all sorts of other interesting characters and family members, right up to Qin Liangqiu, who is the author's, or was, I should say, he's passed away, was the author's father. Most of the story takes place in and around the place of Wuxi, which is where Frank Ching's branch of the Qing clan hails from. The edition I've got here is the 2009 edition. The book was originally published in 1988, And as you can imagine, there have been an awful lot of updates that he added to the book, especially things like how the fortunes of the Qin family have changed, both in terms of the legacy of the ancestors and those living today as a result of the immense political, economic transformations in China since the original publication in 1988. As I said, it's a fantastic book. It's a great read. I read so much of it in almost one sitting on that long flight back from Hong Kong to London. And it's a book I often think about, and one when people say to me they want something different to read, it's one of the first that comes to mind. It's really well told, reads like a novel. It's quite similar, I suppose. I mean, obviously, it's longer in scope, and unfortunately, there are less female characters in it. But it's similar, I suppose, to that wonderful book, Wild Swans, that came out in the, I think it was late 80s, early 90s. So if you like history, travel, memoir, specifically history of China, or learning about other people's families, that kind of stuff, I really recommend this book. It's really a very nice, interesting read, and I'm pretty sure you would enjoy it. So that's my little review or tip for the day for a book for you, Ancestors by Frank Ching. Thank you very much for your time. I look forward very much to the next time we meet. Take care, everybody. Stay safe. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.